All right, you national NC-57 cultists. Uh, I found something really interesting. In the service notes for national, it's on BAMA. BAMA is a website that has schematics and that. I found the service notes for national radio, and in there they list the different models and the microvolt sensitivity. I finally found it. So the bottom end of the AM broadcast band on a national NC-57 is 9 microvolts, which is pretty good because the bottom end of AM broadcast band is tough. Now, as you get up to the middle of the band, it's 3 microvolts, which is very good. And then I told you, if you change the 6SG7 in the front end to a 6AC7, and yes, my fingernails are long, a 6AC7, you'll get even better sensitivity on the radio. Now, I also want to tell you, some of you guys might also own a Hellcrafters S40. I feel sorry for you. That radio was the same amount of money, come out around the same time. Both radios come out like in 1947. The Hellcrafters, they went kind of cheap on it. The IF cans are, two of them are the same. They're those little anemic ones that look like they're from a kitchen radio or an automobile radio. This National, as you know if you own one, has really large IF cans, which makes it better Q, which is quality, which is more signal. And it uses 3 different IF cans. They're specially made for this radio. This radio has a lot going for it. Now, you can also get this radio, I told you, it's an NC-125. It's got their Selecto jet in there. And what that is it's an audio filter for when you copy and code. You can really blot out, guys, instead of doing it with RF filters, you have a couple code guys at one time, and then you turn the Selecto jet and you amplify the tone of the guy you want to copy, and you move your dial, and then the tone, say it's 1,000 hertz, it goes through this Selecto jet, it gets like regenerative, and it gets amplified stronger, and it's basically like it's a filter, a type of filter. Later on, you would use op amps to do something like that, but back in those days, they like to use feedback in amplifiers, and then to get selectivity of audio or RF. There's a million ways to go, but I want to tell you the microvolt sensitivity of this radio before you stick in that 6AC7 is 3 microvolts in the mid band. At the bottom, it's 9 microvolts. See, and as you go up the bands, the microvolts, it needs more and more signal to receive it. We all know that this radio, the top band, which would be, I guess it would be A, is very deaf. I think that might have CB or maybe, well, anyway, it does CB radio band okay. When I had the NC-125, I built a little amplifier using Nuvistors from RCA, and I used it to amplify the CB band. Just before the craze for CB came back in the 70s. The craze come back in like 1975, and when I was in RCA, I built the amplifier for in like 1972. I realized CB was making a sort of a comeback, and it took off with the gas shortage and all that. But anyway, this is my favorite tube radio. I have all the other ones, almost all the other ones. I have that Hellcrafters SX42. Very good audio, incredible audio. It has car radio type audio. It's got hi-fi on AM. I have a national, a Hammerland HQ140. Great audio, but it's a boat anchor. It's just so freaking heavy, and it doesn't work any better than this radio does. See, at some point, the really big radios got this size, and they were able to do it because they started taking the weight out of the radio, and they just got better at how to make the radios. And like I said, this is an RCA patent on this radio. And a lot of radios are the same circuit. And that's what I was looking at. I'm like, this is the same circuit over and over and over. And then when this didn't have the sensitivity that I thought I remembered, I went looking and I found it. It turned out to be just a resistor on the RF amp. It's a 220 ohm resistor, half watt. It goes up in value. So it'll be 220 ohms. It'll be up 350 ohms. So you have to change that and then change the tube from a 6SG7 to a 6AC7. And as far as the tube radio, you'll be at the max as far as microvolt sensitivity. You'll be down near 1 microvolt. And then it comes to DXing, what kind of aerial can you supply, or antenna can you supply to this radio to DX? Now I told you the elephant in the room is you really don't need to have a DX radio anymore. You know, you can stream all this stuff using the internet. I have unlimited internet access with AT&T. I have one of these globe boxes. Well, anyway, it's got the clock built into it. I did have unlimited internet for a while with Verizon. Wi-Fi, it was called Wi-Fi on demand. I could just get it through the air into my that would be a Wi-Fi plug-in, and then that they turned that off in this area. And then I went to AT&T, 100 gigabytes a month for $66. Now for $66, I have unlimited, and that kills a lot of hobbies. I'm going to tell you, when you have unlimited internet and you can sit there and click for hours, you just start clicking on information, and then what happens is you don't really accomplish anything. Now, what I did today was I went through all the documents I could go through to figure out why this radio is so good compared to that. Remember that trio I showed you in the last video? That's a 1 microvolt front end, and this radio is quieter because it's got 2 extra capacitors and a choke. See, if you follow radios and the schematics, you'll notice how they cheat you. Like Hellcrafters took out the really big IF cans and they went to these little crappy little ones. And that's what you can do. You can do that, and then you get the same amount of money as the company you're competing with, but the radio's not as good. And the public is basically stupid. It takes years before someone will put in a conference that the Hellcrafters S40 is deaf. You know, it's like it's really bad. The National's better. And then one guy says, that's only because it's got the National's got the antenna trimmer on it. There's more to it than that. On the schematic of the Hellcrafters S40, a guy actually drew in how to add in the cascode amplifier with the 2 nuvistors. And that made me investigate it and build one for this. Then I realized all I had to do was take out the 6XG7, stick in the 6AC7, and now I have a radio it's sensitive enough. The selectivity is very good on this radio. Now selectivity takes away from the fidelity. That's why that Hellcrafters SX42, you can widen the IF section and make it to hi-fi. And it's unbelievable how good AM is when it's in hi-fi mode. See, a lot of you might have just experience with communication radios that do the AM broadcast band. Well, I think most of those radios are the IF is like 6 to 8 kilohertz wide. I think I got the right numbers. But in order to have real good hi-fi AM, you got to get like 10 or 12, the width of the band. And you just go read up on all this stuff. I only read up on the area I'm investigating. And then as you get older, in my age, I don't remember everything. I have the gist of it. But I stayed with this, and I always tell you, whenever I come up with something and find something, then I immediately report it to you. That's what my videos are about. I don't sit there with a little bow tie in a $40,000 what would you call it, a lab, and then have a unit that's in mint condition that holds it up and tell you a few things that I read off the internet about it. These radios that I show you, I actually, in this case, this one I changed all the .01s, all the .1s. I went through and checked each capacitor in each IF can, disconnected it, and checked it for leakage, because they're silver micas and they do go bad. I told you that the one of the or more of the 3 capacitors in the BFO section will be leaky and it won't oscillate. What else did I find? That one resistor in the RF section, that's a half watts, 220 ohms, that will be up in resistance. And that one's very important. That works off the RF gain. So if that goes up in resistance, the current through the 6SG7 or 6AC7 will be lower and you have less gain. I think I covered everything, but once again, down at the bottom of the A broadcast band, it's 9 microvolts sensitivity. In the middle of the band, it's 3 microvolts. Now, that's how much voltage has to be at the antenna terminals in order to get a signal at the speaker. Now, they have it little, when they talk about microvolt sensitivity, they use dBs, they use noise ratio, they use the amount of amplification at the speaker at the time in millivolts. They do have a way of presenting it, a standard. So, and it's probably from the military because it's got dBs involved. And that's what I was looking for, because I knew this radio was really hot for what it costs. And National always gives you a little bit more in the radio than the Helicrafters. Helicrafters was all how it looked, you know, and they hired that one guy to do the SX42, and I don't really like it. It's too heavy. This radio does just what that one does, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have the great audio, but, you know, at night I put on a station out of Canada, and then I do go up and down the band. And I told you that the elephant in the room is you really don't need an AM radio anymore. You go online if you want any information, if you have internet. But I do like the circuitry and figuring out why one radio works better than the other. Now, with the Helicrafters, they really went to really tiny coils that have ferrite slugs in them, just like this does. This is ferrite slugs, but the coils are bigger. Bigger coil is better Q. That's quality, and that means more signal is coming out of that coil. So you can use a smaller coil with less Q, but you have to have the amplification to make up for it. And that's what they didn't do in the Helicrafters S40. They put in these little chintzy little coils in the front end, and then a lot of people knew if they changed the front end tube to a Cascode, two nuvistors, and it's a plug-in you can make. You stick it in there, now you got it up. But that radio is now missing the choke in the choke in the power supply, like this has. It also has crappy IF cans, cheesy. They're the ones that get the silver mica too. You know, you've seen Shango take them apart a million times. That's the type of IF can that's in the Helicrafters, newer Helicrafters. This radio here, you open the can up, and the capacitors are mounted on a terminal. You unsolder one side, you put your meter across it, check it for leakage, and if it passes, you resolder it back. The Helicrafters, they use the capacitors leads as the terminals. You go look at my videos. They really screw you over. I think that's it. All right, that's it.